Hi everybody, your old buddy Colin here, and today I am super excited to be coming to you talking about one of my hobbies other than drawing artwork, of course, and that is model kits, specifically the monster scenes. Now the other day I was in my local hobby shop and they finally got in the Dungeon and the Animal Pit, the last of the original monster scenes kits. These things have been never been produced, and they've been waiting since about 1971 to get their due. So I'd love to talk to you today about the monster scenes kits and the whole wide world of fun that is. And yeah, I'm excited. So let's get started. First, let me summon the other kits and we'll talk about them. All right, here we go. So back in about 2007 or 8, I was killing some time on my lunch break at work and wandering through my local hobby shop when I came across a couple of these kits. I think I saw the Victim here and possibly Dr. Deadly and maybe the Hanging Cage and the Pendulum, and the box didn't tell me what they were. As you can see, there's just this great artwork on it, and just the idea of these like classic monsters and, you know, weird mad science and crazy scenarios just really intrigued me. So when I got back to work and later that day, I looked up, I'm like, monster scenes, what is that? And what I found was monster scenes was a series of model kits put out by the Aurora company back in the late 60s, early 70s. Now, Aurora is the company that was putting out tons and tons of models, but if you're watching this channel, you're probably a monster fan, so Aurora is most famous for doing the classic model kits of Frankenstein and Dracula and the Mummy and the Wolfman, and those kits were incredibly popular through the 60s. I think they started with the Frankenstein Kit in maybe 64, somewhere in that range, and at one point in time they had to run the mold making machines day and night just to put out these kits. They were selling just tons and tons of them. You have to remember, in the 60s, this was the like the baby boomer generation, and all those kids grew up on classic monsters and things like that, and model kits were incredibly popular in the day. So those kits were 1/8 scale, which means that they're a little bit bigger. For every inch in model size equals 8 inches in real life sizes. So they're just shy of a foot tall, a lot of them. Later in the 60s, the good folks at Aurora decided they were going to put out a new line of kits, and they were going to aim for a smaller size, and they were going to keep a monstrous horror theme with that, and they came up with the monster scenes here. Now these kits are listed as 1/13th scale because 13 is a spooky monster number. We all know and love that. And that's another thing I love about these kits. 1/13th scale. That's ridiculously weird. But they said at that size they can really put out, it's less plastic for them, and they can make these kits that they have movable parts and changeable parts too, which is a big draw for me specifically. Now, I'm a child of the 80s and 90s. I grew up on action figures and play sets and action features and things like that, like Ninja Turtles and Ghostbusters. They had these great play sets where, you could do stuff. They were interactive, and so these kits really scratched an itch I had for monsters and horror and themes like that. And it was do-it-yourself and customization, because once you got the kit unpainted, you could paint it up any way you wanted. You could make modifications to it. You could do whatever you want, and that's a huge thing for me that I love. And then the interchangeability. A lot of these kits have the figures especially have multiple arms, and you can switch out the arms, or multiple legs, to kind of just set that scene up. And the Victim, for instance, has legs where she's standing and she'll fit in like the Hanging Cage there, or running away from Frankenstein, or with the running legs you can slap on Frankenstein's carrying arms and she'll fit right in his arms to be carried. Just really cool stuff like that. So this was amazing to find for me. I got into these were the first model kits I had ever gotten into. when I was a kid, we'd build models on occasion. I built a Starship Enterprise with my dad, and with my buddy Matthew, we had that old Aurora Wolfman kit, like a repop of it, and we had done that up, and just neat stuff like that. But it was never really a big thing for me, and these really got in my life in a big way. And over the years, I've been buying them. These are re-releases now. The Aurora Kits, and we'll get to this, were done in 71. They were off the shelves. And so I believe it was around 2005 or 6, somewhere in that range. I'm not sure off the top of my head, but the company Dencomm got the Monster Scenes license, and in conjunction with Moebius Models, started repopping them or remaking them based on the original molds and putting them out. They use the same like packaging art, and there's slight differences here and there, but for the most part, you're using that great classic art. The model kits are exactly the way they were back then. They might be a slightly different color of plastic, but you're going to paint it anyway. And so they've been the Dencomm people, whoever you are. If you ever see this video, thank you guys so much for putting these out. They've done a terrific job with these kits and making them, putting them out. It just is something that I really love, and I like building, and I like collecting, and I like making all kind of weird stuff, and scratch building things and customizing. And I'm very, very happy with all of this. Now, let's talk a little bit about why the Dungeon and the Animal Pit are such interesting kits and so unique, and I'm happy to get them. Now, these kits in their day were very controversial, you better believe. Not only were parents and teachers and all those kinds of people that hate fun upset of the monster theme. I mean, they had a kit called The Victim, and it's a scantily clad girl, and you can stick her in a cage or stick her in a giant pendulum to cut her in half. There's like weird mutated animal creatures. There's a giant insect. There is the hanging cage. It's a freaking gibbet. Like, that's a little bit nuts, I do have to say. So it doesn't surprise me that they were up in arms about this. Well, the Aurora company was in the early part of the 70s, 71, I believe, sold to Nabisco. The cracker people? Nabisco wasn't having any of this garbage. They're like, we're a family-friendly company, pull the plug on the monster scenes, and so they did. And when they pulled the plug, the company had 2 kits ready to go out. That was the Dungeon and the Animal Pit. And these kits were molded and made. The artwork was done for the boxes, and they had, I want to say, like 90% complete and ready to rock and roll and be put out on shelves. And the plug was pulled, and so they were never actually produced. Until now, when the people at Dencomm got a hold of the molds and the artwork, which they had for a while, but they retooled the molds to make them actually functional after 40-some years sitting on a shelf and getting all banged up, and who knows what happened to them. They were a little worse for wear, so they retooled, they made them look good, and they finally, after 45 years, something like that, they finally put these kits out. And so I am super pumped to be opening them and building them and incorporating them into all of my stuff, and that is just awesome. So why don't we take a look here at some of the individual kits, and I'll just give you a couple of my thoughts on each one.
All right, first up, we've got Dr. Deadly, who I think is the leader of this gang of monsters, and it's his lab and dungeon area where all this is taking place. He's got a face only a mother could love, and he comes with 6 different arms. No leg movement or leg attachments, but 6 different arms. He's got gloves, carrying arms where he can carry the victim, which is really cool, and even some arms that allow him to hold a couple things, like beakers and a sword, kind of. He's also got this neat face mask / sneeze guard, because it would be terribly embarrassing if he sneezed on a patient while he was chopping them apart. Alright, next up we've got the victim. As you can see, she's got a screaming face, and she is wearing a tied off crop top and short shorts. She's got arms that can move and swivel in their sockets, as well as be changed out. Now, with all the figure kits, I've modified it pretty heavily so that tiny magnets are affixed to the ends of the arms, and there's metal plates inside the body that allow for quick changes. I can change out her arms in a snap, and same with her legs. Yep, she splits at the waist, making it really easy to switch on the running legs, which also allow her to be carried, or the standing legs, which means she's just standing, hanging out. She's got 2 sets of legs and 4 arms total, and this is a great kit, a must-have for the series. All right, next up we got our old pal Frankenstein, or Frankenstein's monster if you want to go that route. But the box just says Frankenstein, so let's go with that. He's got those outstretched reaching arms like he's lumbering along. Ugh. And he's got legs to allow him to stand, or walking legs. He's got a pair of carrying arms, as we've talked about before, that allow him to carry the victim. And his face is clearly based off of the Boris Karloff Frankenstein. At least I think so. Really great kit and a lot of fun. Vampirella, that vampire vixen from the planet Draculon, rounds out the character kits. Now, she was harder to get the license for, as the license is currently owned by Dynamite Entertainment. But Dencomm did it, and they got this kit repopped and out. She's a great little kit, which I unfortunately don't have painted yet. She comes with multiple arms and legs, and I kind of have to hold her together just because I don't have the magnets in. But awesome kit. All right, let's talk about some of the big box kits. First up is the giant insect. This bizarre insectoid creature was apparently made by Dr. Deadly, and it's a really humongous kit. It's got articulated legs with joints at the elbows, and they can swivel. Its tail can hold the victim in its pinchers, as well as its swiveling mandibles can open and close and hold the victim in thrall. Also, it comes with a saddle that Vampirella can ride this giant creature around, which is pretty sweet. Now, again, I don't have this one painted up or anything. I'm going to make some pretty heavy modifications, including hinged wings and some lights for behind the eyes, so that's going to be quite a challenge, but we'll get there. All right, here we've got the Pendulum Kit. This thing is very huge. It stands almost 11 inches tall. Now, I don't have the winches or the ropes or anything like that on it yet. I plan to modify this thing heavily in a lot of different ways, so I haven't painted it either. But it features moving parts, including the raising and lowering pendulum, as well as the pendulum can swing back and forth. You can also strap the victim down, so in case you want to carve her up, and you'll wonder why parents were outraged at this series. So Gruesome Goodies is really the beginning of the lab equipment. It comes with 2 tables covered in equipment like beakers, test tubes, skulls, a candle. It also has this big old electric apparatus that looks very mad science-y. It's got a functioning lever that can move around, and then it has some parts that move up and down, or, you know, whatever you want to do with it. I can see something like this spitting out all kinds of weird glowing electricity. It also comes with, under this glass cage here, is the Vampire Rabbit, the first of the weird animals. It's a rabbit with stitches on it, and it's got big old vampire fangs. Next up, we've got the Pain Parlor. Now, this is the other part of Dr. Deadly's lab. It does come with a nice section of flooring. However, I have my flooring glued into some other flooring areas, so the base that it comes with is not as big as you see. It does come with this nice panel here for electrical stuff, as well as a skeleton, which is great, and this laboratory table, which can swivel back and forth. Now, the lab table has been modified a lot by me. It's not quite as textured without handrails, but I haven't painted mine yet either, so that's why it's kind of white. It also rotates back and forth to lay the experiment flat, and Frankenstein also fits in this thing perfectly. Great kit. All right, lastly but not leastly, we've got the hanging cage. This is another kit that's incredibly tall. The gibbet, or the arm here that's holding the cage up, is very tall, and we've got this really big section of flooring. Again, it's glued into a larger set, but it's still a nice big chunk. In addition to the hanging cage, we've also got a brazier of fire and a couple of weapons. Poker, pinchers or bolt cutter type things, and a sword. Now, I scratch built the little weapon rack that they're on, but I just thought that would be easiest to see the weapons. Now, the cage opens and closes, and you can put the victim in. It also has little tiny locks, which I don't have. I magnetized my cage so it stays shut. But the victim fits in there perfectly. Also included is a little tiny bed of spikes that goes at the bottom of the hanging cage. Pretty gruesome. The cage is amazing because it raises and lowers with the winch. It also comes with a little stopper so you can stop it at any height that you want. You can lower it to the floor. You can have it kind of hanging there, dangling mid-level. Now, additional modifications I made to this are I took the brazier. It's hard to see here, but I've actually lighted it a little bit, drilled some holes in it and raised it up so that some light spills out from underneath. The camera doesn't pick it up too well, but this is another amazing kit and one of my favorites in the entire line. Dencomm has also put out a couple of additional accessory kits. Now, these aren't based on existing Monster Scenes kits. These are brand new. The first round of them had some very simple but awesome accessories like rope, chains, cobwebs, a dungeon spider nest, and even a body bag with great new artwork for the packaging and little comics inside. These were terrific. The second round are all new actual model kits, including the skeleton, which glows in the dark and has 3 different faces you can put on it, and also comes with this really cool bar to hang him from. The saber-toothed rabbit that comes with this big block and a chain to connect him to. And then finally the feral cat, who has the great cage that opens and closes. You can even exchange the heads of the feral cat and the saber-toothed rabbit to get some really cool creature looks and make some weird, wild monsters. I'd also like to recommend the book about monster scenes called Aurora Monster Scenes, the most controversial toys of a generation. This is a great 256-page full-color softback that is just filled with photos of the kits, artwork, behind-the-scenes stuff, pre-production stuff, all kinds of just amazing facts and information, as well as the history of these kits and information about them. This is a terrific book and really great if you're interested in models, monsters, or that time period in American history, that kind of early 70s baby boomer monster craze stuff. Absolutely essential. Pick it up.
So, thanks for joining me, guys. I had a blast talking about monster scenes today. I could talk about this kind of stuff all day. Join me because I'm going to do an unboxing video of the dungeon and the animal pit. So that'll be in a separate video. And if you guys are interested in seeing more about these kits and maybe like reviews of each or some real in-depth looks or whatever, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share this with all your friends and all that kind of fun stuff. And that's it. Alright guys, thanks again. We'll see you on the next episode of Markers and Monsters.